Toxic Citron, one of the 9 variants added after the game's launch, and out of all of them, he is certainly one of the more interesting ones, being the 3rd cloud damage variant alongside Alien Flower and Park Ranger, whilst also mixing in the toxic element, which whilst a minimal addition, given how toxic in this game was made to spread much more easily, complements his gameplay greatly if it wasn't for how little damage he dealt. But is there more here than what meets the eye? Or was he just not blessed with great stats to be a formidable opponent? Let's take another look. Before we begin our judgment, let's give ourselves a reminder of Toxic Citron's current standings. He's a Citron variant that combines both the toxic element as well as the cloud damage mechanic that 2 other variants have. Toxic Citron's primary fires at a leisurely 250 rounds per minute, has 20 ammo in the mag with a 2 seconds reload, and each shot fire ranges from 7 to 2 damage depending on distance. Additionally, when each projectile lands, it produces a short-lasting damage cloud, dealing 2 damage every 3/4 of a second within a small radius. The damage clouds can stack, and both the cloud and projectile can deal toxic damage over time. Although that is minimal as shit, so who cares about that? So far, Toxic Citron's main strength seems to be in his ability to perform area denial and be effective against slow-moving or stationary targets. This reason alone makes him fairly decent in modes such as Suburbanation, Gnome Bomb, Turf, or Garden Ops due to predictable enemy movement. Whilst this does make him excel in those situations, it does also mean that game modes that don't focus on certain locations such as Team Vanquish, or any fight that is a direct one-on-one encounter, he would struggle significantly. Granted, Toxic Citron does have a generally much better performance at longer distances compared to most of his adversaries, although given Citrons across the board aren't exactly known for their ranged game plan. Toxic Citron doesn't exactly have much of a lead, since it takes him 4 seconds to kill a 125 health opponent, and even then, that's on the assumption that they're standing still, which they most likely are not. This adds into the next segment, in how much he relies on stationary or slow-moving targets, since his damage clouds can't really follow them, and said clouds are where a sizable portion of his damage output come from. Whilst this is the case for Alien Flower and Park Ranger, they however don't nearly struggle as much as him. Alien for having a noticeably larger cloud, and Park Ranger for having semi-decent damage even just on his base primary weapon. And when clouds are taken into account, the 2 of them easily outclass Toxic Citron by a noticeable margin, especially Park Ranger. So not only is Toxic Citron weak compared to other variants in his own class, but also weak compared to variants that do a similar function. Granted, he doesn't instantly become a weak target because of reasons, but that will at most help him for one fight with how long that thing's cooldown is. So, this seems to be the end of the line for this variant, being an interesting concept but flawed with poor performance and statistics, and doomed to rest in the bottom of opinions and tier lists for the rest of time. But what if that wasn't the end of the line for Toxic Citron? What if in the ideal world he was given a second chance to thrive, a chance to be an actual decent character for once in his life? Well, as someone who has no life when it comes to playing these games, here is how I, a semi-competent Garden Warfare 2 player, would rebalance Toxic Citron, being 5 buffs, 1 quality of life change, and 3 nerfs. Obviously, there is a lot to unpack here, with 9 changes in total, so allow me to elaborate on them accordingly. The rate of fire, ammo capacity, and close damage buffs aim at granting him much more close range prowess, as well as allowing him to more easily spread the toxic damage clouds across larger areas to keep up the pressure, which when paired with the damage tick rate increase on the damage clouds, makes him far more formidable, and on par with his adversaries. The damage fall off and allowing the toxic aura whilst in the ball changes are minor, but just make his fall off range not as harsh, and allows him to still deal toxic damage whilst moving around. These changes would make him much more formidable, but obviously, we need to make sure that he still has a weakness, hence these 3 nerfs right here. His projectile velocity and reload speed are being toned down slightly as to open more windows of opportunity to attack him, and keep his range game in check, whilst the spread range from the cloud applying the toxic effect, is to make sure that his ability to spread clouds out more frequently, isn't too oppressive and can be abused. But overall, these changes would make Toxic Citron a much more enjoyable character to play, though this is just my perspective in terms of balance. Sadly, this perfect world is not one that we can live it, and we are forced to return to the realm of online games, and keep this concept within our dreams of what toxic Citron should possibly be. Before ending this video, a large portion of toxic Citron's changes here. We are inspired by the Fresh Harvest mod, which you should check out on Nexus Mods and the Frosty modding server, and give it a try. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more shit like this. Have fun.